Okay, everyone, thanks for coming out tonight. The time is now 6:02 p.m., September 2026. I call to order this regular scheduled meeting of the Oconee County Council. We will begin with a moment of silence. Mr. James, would you pray for us, please?
Sure. Let's pray. Father, as we come to you this evening, we do thank you for the day, and we thank you for being able to come together and discuss the business of the county. Lord, just help us to keep in mind that every action that we take, Lord, we'll be responsible for you for that. And Lord, in light of that, we ask that you give us wisdom in our decision making and in the direction that we as county council and as the residents of this county in the direction in which we head, Lord. Lord, we thank you for your grace and your mercy. And Lord, as we discuss freedom tonight and liberty, Lord, just help us to keep in mind that true freedom and true liberty is only found in salvation, and that's only found in Christ Jesus. And we thank you for that. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Perry Smith, would you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, county attorney comments?
No, sir, not at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Chumley. And administrative comments?
Not this time, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. All right, do we have a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? We have two proclamations. First is Proclamation 2026-09, a proclamation recognizing the 88th anniversary of America's first conservation plan established in Oconee County on Palmer M. Adams farmland. Whereas the soil and water resources of Oconee County are the foundation of the health and well-being of our residents, and whereas the wise use of soil and water in Oconee County is essential to a sound environment, a strong economy, and the vibrancy of agricultural, forestry, and natural resources, and whereas each county in South Carolina is organized as a soil and water conservation district and managed by a board of commissioners, and whereas these districts are dedicated to preserving Oconee County's natural resources by promoting sustainable use of soil and water for the entire community, and whereas Oconee Soil and Water Conservation District is the first conservation district in the United States of America to establish a farm conservation plan on February 4th, 1938, and whereas Palmer M. Adams, an Oconee County native, held 330 acres of this farmland just west of the city of Seneca, and whereas Palmer M. Adams implemented conservation practices such as cover crops, crop rotations, and combating soil erosion through terracing to protect soil health. Now therefore, we, the Oconee County Council, do hereby recognize the 80th anniversary of America's first farm conservation plan established in Oconee County on Palmer M. Adams farmland.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Kim? Trent?
Thanks, sir.
I always get this to the tallest guy.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have a proclamation for Constitution Week. Thankful that our county's recognizing Constitution Week, which is later this month. We all inherited, or we all was given freedoms from God, and the Constitution is what protects them. And we all inherited the freedoms we have today, and it's important for us to realize that it's upon us to preserve it for the next generation. So this is Proclamation 2026-10. A proclamation recognizing United States Constitution Week. Whereas the Constitution of the United States of America, the guardian of our liberties, embodies the principles of limited government, has served as a guiding document for a nation through times of great challenge and change, protecting the rights and freedoms of generations of Americans. And whereas September 17th, 2026 marks the 239th anniversary of the signing of the final draft of the Constitution by the delegates to the Constitutional Convention, and whereas it is important for citizens of all ages to understand and appreciate the principles and ideals embodied in the Constitution and the responsibilities of citizenship necessary to preserve a constitutional form of government, and whereas Constitution Week provides an opportunity for citizens to reflect upon the significance of the Constitution, recognize the sacrifices made to protect their freedoms, and reaffirm our commitment to the principles upon which the United States was founded. Now therefore, we, the Oconee County Council, do hereby recognize the week of September 17th through 23rd, 2026 as Constitution Week, and urge all citizens to study the Constitution and reflect on the privilege of being an American with all the rights and responsibilities which that privilege involves.
Motion.
Motion, second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
I believe we have somebody from the North American Revolution. Come on. Thank you, ma'am. Okay, now we have public comment session. Just a reminder, for having new folks, it's 5 minutes. Ms. Adams, she runs a clock, and at 1 minute, it'll go yellow. When time expires, it'll go red. Also, it helps since I'm right in front of you with a sign. We ask that you please keep the discussion on something related to county business. And also, it's not an out and back discussion with council. There's another time following this for council comment.
Mr. John Brubacher?
Hi, good evening. My name is John J.V. Brubacher. I just want to speak on the flock cameras tonight. I think the council took an important step by making sure the flock records and audit logs are preserved before the contract is terminated. Before we decide what should or should not be allowed going forward, we should understand what actually happened
how the system used, who had access, what information was shared, how long it was retained, and where the proper safeguards in place. For me, this shouldn't simply be a debate about camera versus no camera. The large question is what surveillance authority we want government to have, and what rules, oversight, and transparency should come with that authority. I also encourage council to look carefully at how mass surveillance is defined in the ordinance. We should protect citizens' privacy and civil liberties without unintentionally preventing legitimate public safety, technology that may serve our community in the future. Preserve the records, get the facts, establish clear safeguards, then make the policy decision. I think that's the responsible way forward. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Valerie McCarthy.
Thank you, council, for the opportunity to speak tonight in support of ordinance 2026-26, which is the protection from mass surveillance ordinance. So a year ago, I had never actually heard of flock cameras, but I did know that we were already losing something. So little by little, I've watched our lives just kind of move into the digital world. Our conversations, our purchases, our medical records, our locations, our relationships, even our children's lives. And somewhere along the way, we started accepting that because technology can collect all of this information about us, government should be able to access it too. Then Flock came to my attention right here in Oconee County, and suddenly this huge abstract issue became very real. I started digging, I filed FOIA requests, I read contracts, policies, looked at audit logs, and I learned just how quickly this technology is evolving. And Oconee County is not alone in asking whether we've gone too far. In the last few days, Texas Governor Greg Abbott halted state funding for additional flock cameras. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis warned that their proliferation has gotten out of control and said he does not want Florida to become a surveillance state. And these governors are not anti-police, and neither am I. In fact, I want police to catch the armed robbers. I want them to find missing children. I want them to have tools that help them protect us. But technology is not infallible. And last week, right here in Oconee County, after a teenager was shot, Flock was credited with helping identify the vehicle involved. Except the vehicle it identified was wrong. Deputies stopped that Hyundai. The people inside had nothing to do with the shooting and were released. And according to the sheriff's office spokesman, they don't believe that the vehicle was even at the scene. So imagine being inside that car. A data point on a screen may be wrong, but when government acts on it, the consequences become very real very quickly. And that is exactly why powerful technology like this needs boundaries. And through all of this, I keep thinking about my two little girls. What kind of America are we leaving them? Because the surveillance technology they will face at my age will make what we're discussing tonight look very primitive. So I refuse to accept that the price of safety is raising my children in a country where their movements can be collected, stored, searched, and reconstructed by their government. Once we build that infrastructure, we're not just trusting the good people holding power today, we're trusting every person who will hold that power tomorrow. Someday our children will inherit the decisions we make in rooms like this one. I want mine to know that when we saw where this was headed, we stood up. Please support ordinance 2026 because technology changes, but our rights do not. Thank you.
Judy Adams.
Good evening, gentlemen. I just want to take 60 seconds to say thank you for taking your oath seriously. Thank you for the hours and the research you put into this. I'm not going to reiterate what Valerie has said. Totally agree with that. I also stand with you because I've heard you say many times you support law enforcement. So does the majority, and so do I. support Officer Sheriff Crenshaw goes beyond that. As Valerie's already said, you gentlemen will not always hold the positions. Sheriff Crenshaw will not always hold his, and every law enforcement will eventually retire. As Valerie said, you're protecting the future for our children and our grandchildren. Just want to take time and say thank you.
Mr. Bill Bull.
My name is Bill Bull. As some of you know, I'm running for County Council, District 1, the seat currently held by John Elliott. I was here 2 weeks ago and heard the passionate case made for ordinance 2026-26. I fully understand that passion. No one wants Big Brother looking into their lives. Unfortunately, in today's information-based society, it's extremely difficult to be anonymous. You carry a cell phone or a fitness watch, you can be tracked. If your car is manufactured after around 2000, you can be tracked. Someone can put an air tag in your car or clothing, and you can be tracked. You cannot be tracked with a few flock cameras. The camera can only say that at a specific point in time, your vehicle passed by the camera headed in a specific direction. There are over 120,000 flock cameras in the United States of America. According to Sheriff Crenshaw, Oconee County has 5 of them. I'm sure Walhalla, Westminster, and Seneca have some of their own. In 2025 nationwide, the flock system helped find 10,000 missing people. 40% of the law enforcement agencies that use the system estimate that it helped recover over half of their stolen vehicles. In Indiana, an abducted infant was located in under 2 hours. In Ohio, a missing girl was located in about 30 minutes. We live in the information age. Everything has or is going digital. 82% of retail stores use live video surveillance, such as Walmart, Home Depot, Lowe's, and I'm sure the new Target. There are 59 million homes with video doorbells. There are about 90 million unique surveillance systems that have multiple cameras for a total camera count of over 500 million installed across the USA. Every time you go to the airport or drive on a toll road, your car tag is entered into a database. There are about 15,000 live traffic vision cameras that monitor all traffic at all hours. Most of them can be accessed by anyone. In addition, there are red light and speed cameras. I personally have become acquainted with 2 of them, one in Maryland and another in Washington, D.C. Let's not forget satellite and drone surveillance. Anyone can go online and get a Google satellite image of your property. David Stumbo, who's running for South Carolina Attorney General, was here recently and was asked about flock cameras. He stated it was a good tool for law enforcement, that policies could be formulated to fix current issues, such as the recent change where data storage is now 7 days instead of 30. Data can only be kept longer if a case number is assigned. David also stated, and I'm going to paraphrase here, it would be a shame to throw the baby out with the bathwater. What about abuse of the data? While there's no single definitive number, credible tracking shows at least 24 confirmed misuse cases and over 50 reported incidents of flock camera database abuse from 2024 to July 2026. This can be resolved with better oversight of law enforcement personnel who are the only ones with access to the data. Personally, I'm concerned that if this ordinance passes, we will experience some unintended consequences. If I was a criminal and I knew there were no flock cameras in a specific area, it might encourage me to move my illegitimate, illegal operations to and through that area. Another concern I have is that we are being psychologically motivated by fear by online influencers into hamstringing law enforcement, essentially defunding them. My understanding is that the system has been in use since 2019 when it was first deployed in Atlanta. So why now? Could it be that we are being fear-driven against flock camera system? Could it be from groups that would like to defund in law enforcement? I don't know. But I hope the council continues to gather information and keep an open mind.
No one doubts Flock is effective at catching criminals. In fact, nearly 200 police officers nationwide have been caught abusing these systems. Without Flock, we would have never caught those criminals. But effectiveness isn't the question. The question is, what specific risks does this technology pose to the residents of Oconee County, and what are the administrators of these systems doing to mitigate those risks? Tonight, I want every Flock customer in Oconee County to establish an immediate action plan for contract cancellations. These cameras can continue recording, functioning, and sharing data well after a contract ends. When a contract is canceled, those cameras should be disabled and physically covered until they're removed. When you read Flock's contract, footage and derivative data are treated completely differently. The contract says footage can be viewed, saved, and transmitted before the deletion date. That means anyone with access can download a copy and keep it indefinitely. It also says footage is deleted after 30 days, but derivative data, the trademarked vehicle fingerprints, the heat maps, the aggregated data, the AI-generated information, that's completely different. Flock sells that access to that derivative data. That is their $8.4 billion business model. Furthermore, Flock's contracts provide Flock with a, quote, perpetual, irrevocable, worldwide, royalty-free, fully paid license to use, reproduce, modify, and distribute agency data. Does any law enforcement administrator have the legal authority under South Carolina law to grant a private company a commercial use license to public law enforcement data? Now, many of these devices in Oconee County sit directly on public rights-of-way and state highways just a few feet away from active traffic without breakaway poles or compliance with highway safety standards. I have documentation showing that SCDOT engineers have not issued permits for new Flock installations on their roads since 2023. These are rigid roadside structures in the clear zone, and a vehicle leaving the roadway and striking one is a foreseeable risk. Who in Oconee County evaluated that risk? What safety standard was applied, and who bears the liability when, not if, when someone gets hurt? Folks, cybersecurity cannot run on trust. We can't take Flock's word for it. We can't take a sales rep's word for it. We can't even take the sheriff's word for it. Every single thing must be verified and confirmed. Researchers have published more than 60 vulnerabilities in these devices, 22 of which are registered as CVEs in the Federal Vulnerability Database. I'll give you an example. There's a button on the side of that camera. You press it 3 times, it opens a Wi-Fi connection. From there, an attacker can gain root access using a hard-coded password that cannot be changed and is it's the same password on every single device. That password is the word security in all lowercase letters. Some of the vulnerabilities don't even require a password to compromise the entire system. Now, who in Oconee County independently verifies that every device is securely patched, configured, and protected? Who tests those configurations? The sheriff told us just last week that active criminal cases rely on evidence from these devices. If a device can be compromised without the agency even knowing it, then we have a huge problem. How do we know that the evidence presented in court is authentic and hasn't been altered? How do we confirm the chain of custody and the integrity of that evidence? Folks, ignorance is one of the greatest threats to public safety technology. When leadership doesn't understand the tools they deploy, it undermines the legal credibility of those tools. So can our agencies demonstrate to us that no one has improperly accessed Oconee County systems? Can they demonstrate that our cameras and networks are actually secure and tell us who independently verified that? Can they demonstrate that these installations are physically safe and properly permitted? If you can't demonstrate it, how can you justify operating it? I want to also recognize that Sheriff Crenshaw, Chief Miller, and Chief Bowling have finally activated their Flock transparency portals. Some of the key panels are still turned off, the ones that show how many camera alerts and who they share our data with, but it is a step towards transparency. Now, I'm asking, establish a firm deactivation and removal plan for every camera before the contract ends. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. My name is Mary Montejo. I'm a nurse practitioner licensed here in South Carolina. I'm here to talk about my observation on the pickleball project in South Cove Park. South Cove Park pickleball and the park itself is one of the jewels of this county. And for the last year, the pickleball courts were demolished, and there was a company that was placed instead to build the pickleball court. Multiple times this year, I have witnessed there was no action in the building and the renovation of the pickleball court. I personally went and supervised the area because it's very important to me. I bought my home in the Oconee County because there was pickleball access. It's a wonderful thing for our community in South Cove Park. There were many weeks and many months where there was no work being done. I reported that to the parks. I reported to the South Cove representatives. I spoke to the project manager who told me that it was a low bid and they had no power to corral these people from Georgia to come and do their job. There was no action for 7 months. There was a flurry of action. In May, they tried to build, did I bring the picture? To build a court, and this is the court today. That is the entrance to our beautiful South Cove Park. I have spoken to Parks, and they have said that they have since fired that company, or the company that was hired for 1 year to build this court, and now there's another company that will start building. I want to know how long this is going to take. I bought my home in South Cove area in the Indian Oaks to have access to the South Cove Park, to have access. There are a lot of poor families that walk the South Cove Road into the park to use all the facilities. And it's still not built. Today I walked through there, and there is no hide of any action being done in these courts. The YMCA, I'm part of the YMCA here that was just built, and in 12 months they built a whole 2-story building with indoor courts, but I'm able to pay $50 a month to have access for my children. The poor families here don't. So I would like to know how much this cost, what is being done to actually fix these courts, and I would like for another session so that maybe the Oconee Council can answer some of the questions that are, that the residents have in the building of this. A lot of them are excuses. The asphalt is not ready. We can't get a company to come. Supposedly there's one now that is going to come, but I don't see any start. Yesterday was the beginning, and the park was empty today. This is a picture of the park. And this is the entrance to South Cove Park. If you Google Seneca and Oconee, you ask what are the top 10 things to see? And guess what is number 2? South Cove Park. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Gary Spann.
Mr. Chairman, Councilman, for the record, I'm Perry Smith. Flock came to Oconee County in 2022. 2026, we're just all hearing about Flock. I'm wondering, why was the citizens made aware of Flock? I'm wondering how many of you guys were made aware of Flock when you were here on council. Just today on WIFF, there was an officer a deputy was terminated in South Carolina for abusing Flock. That's not just happened once; it's happened quite a few times in South Carolina. I'd like to know how many times my own license plate's been pulled. I drive all over the place. I go to Tennessee, I go to Michigan, I drive everywhere for work. Am I going to come back home and get pulled over because I went to a state that sells marijuana? Who knows? that happens to many people. That's happened to many people across this nation. Innocent citizens shouldn't have to worry about this. Why should I have to worry about going to visit in-laws and come back and have to worry about my property being searched or, think I'm doing something illegal? You guys have every right to receive the records from Oconee County. Matthew, I'd like to know how many times your tag was searched, your tag was checked. Be interested, wouldn't it? How many of our legislators' tags has been pulled? Be interested to know that too. You guys have every right to view these records that doesn't have anything to do with any type of open case. Us Oconee County citizens has every right to know if their tags has been pulled and why. We need to know why. Many of us shouldn't have to worry about going to work and worrying about our tags getting pulled and getting pulled over for some silly reason just to have our vehicle searched. So thank y'all for what you're doing. Keep fighting and keep protecting the citizens.
Lauren Ballard. Good evening, Oconee County Council and members of our community. My name is Lauren Ballard, and I am an Oconee County citizen. First, I want to thank this county's leadership, our county council and Administrator Stuart Jones. Your willingness to stand up for the rights and privacy of your citizens is setting an example far beyond Oconee County. Your leadership is creating ripple effects across South Carolina and across this nation. A phrase that has been resonating with me is this: lead in love and do not bow down to tyranny. I'm a Christian and I believe in Jesus Christ, and I believe this issue is about much more than a camera on the side of a road. It is about who controls information about ordinary citizens, how that information is collected, how long it is kept, who can access it, and who ultimately controls the system. This is where I want to address Flock Safety and the powerful interests behind this technology. Flock Safety is backed by Founders Fund, which identifies Peter Thiel as a partner, and Founders Fund identifies Flock Safety as one of its portfolio companies. Peter Thiel was mentioned over 2,000 times in the Epstein files, and that is only what was released to us. And that is in the Department of Justice website if you go to the Epstein files. I believe citizens have every right to ask questions about the people and institutions financially backing surveillance technology that is being deployed in communities across America. And let me be clear, I am not anti-police. Valerie McCarthy and I, with guidance from former York County Council official Brittany Farr, we met with the Seneca Police Chief Bowling and his lead investigator to discuss how Flock is being used in Seneca. I came away impressed by Chief Bowling's commitment to auditing and accountability and character. I also recognize that Flock cameras can help solve crimes and bring criminals to justice. But that does not end the conversation. A technology can be a useful tool to law enforcement and still deserves scrutiny from the people. We have a right to privacy. We have a right to know how our taxpayer dollars are being spent, and we have a Constitution and Bill of Rights designed to protect citizens from the unnecessary expansion of government power. That is why I'm asking this council to continue to stand firm. I'm asking us to remember the victims of Jeffrey Epstein and the horrific crimes committed against vulnerable people, including children. We should never forget them. But we should also be careful to separate verified facts from allegations because the truth matters. And truth matters to me because I'm a Christian. I'm called to love my neighbor. I'm called to stand for truth, and I'm called not to live in fear. The Bible says, "For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and love and of a sound mind." 2 Timothy 1:7. So I will continue to speak, and I will continue to ask questions, and I will continue to stand for the people of Oconee County. Because remember the story of David and Goliath. David did not win because he was the biggest. He won because he was willing to stand. So I challenge everyone listening tonight, be willing to stand. Stand for your community, stand for your privacy, stand for government accountability. Stand for the right of citizens to say no when they believe something does not serve their community. Oconee County has already shown what courageous local leadership can look like, and we're just getting started. Let's put communities first, let's put citizens first, and let's make America local again. And I would like to finish with this. The Bible says, "Dear children, let us not love with words or speech, but with actions and in truth." 1 John 3:18. Thank you.
Arias, Flores.
Thank you. My name is Mario Suarez, and I'm not talking about flock cameras or pickleball. I'm here to extend an invitation to you. I was here last year to invite you to a reading of my musical La Zafra, The Harvest. And this year, I have been lucky. Center Stage is very interested in it. They want to put a full-fledged presentation of the play with all the music, orchestration, and a band. And it's not a full production, but it's pretty close to it. So I'd like to invite you to come to this presentation. La Zafra centers around Oconee County. And in this play, I have scenes that take place at Chattooga Bell Farm, Issaquina Falls, Stumphouse Tunnel, The Last Chance. And La Zafra is in English, by the way. And there are a few Spanish words, but they are not curse words. The place of the town is called Cidersville. And when I wrote it, I had in mind Lone Creek and Westminster, but it could represent Walhalla or Seneca, any site in Oconee County. I also mentioned places like our Golden Corner, Erskine College, Furman University, and Clemson University. And my favorite is Chattooga River. And I just came back from there because it was so damn hot here. Anyway, the music director that they hire to do the music is terrific. Her name is Ileana Rose, and she has done some presentations here at the Oconee at the Walhalla Performing Arts Center, at the Walhalla High School, at the Oconee Community Theater. And she's based pretty much out of Greenville. She's a composer, performer, arranger, orchestrator. So we hit the jackpot with her. Please do not forget, it's October the 9th at 7:30 and the 10th at 3 o'clock matinee. I would love to see more Oconee people there than I saw Greenville people there. So the neat thing about this presentation is that you will have a chance to give me feedback. And as my wife says, I will be on the hot seat to receive critique about the play, about the music, and that will help us make it better and hopefully have a full production within a year. I know how it is to be on the hot seat. You guys are on the hot seat. I was on the hot seat in 2006 through 2010 when I served in Oconee County Council, representing District 3. The cost to come to the play is just $10. It's worth it. They put a lot of money into it, and they're just making it. They want the feedback from you all. Thank you so much for listening, and we hope to see you there. If you cannot make it, get somebody else to go. Thank you.
Thank you, the council, for your due diligence you've done regarding both the benefits and the concerns of the flock cameras in our county. I understand there's legitimate benefits. I think somebody's already talked about the benefits. Tommy, I think last council meeting, he said it's great until it isn't, and that's where my concern is. It's not about the integrity of the people currently responsible for using this technology. I have confidence in Sheriff Crenshaw, Chief Boland, and believe both of them to be men of integrity, but good intentions and good people do not eliminate the possibility of misuse. Technology has a way of outliving the people that implement it. And someone else said, all of you are not going to be here. Our current law enforcement leaders are not going to be here at some point, and policies can change in time. So before Coney County moves forward, I believe we need stronger checks and balances governing who can access the information, under what circumstances it can be accessed, and how it is monitored. What accountability exists, what safeguards are in place. We also need clear answers about where the data is stored. We've heard different numbers. It's deleted after 30 days, it's deleted after 7 days, but where is it stored after that? Once China or whoever has it, who has access to that long term? Any foreign entities or companies that have access to it, to me, is a red flag. This type of technology has enormous potential. It can be used for good, but it can also be used in ways that we cannot even anticipate today. So what concerns me is not necessarily how it will be used for the by the people we trust today, but what could happen if that information eventually falls into the hands of people we do not trust. We've already witnessed how quickly extraordinary circumstances can be used to justify extraordinary government overreach. During COVID, Americans saw restrictions and policies implemented that many never believed possible in this country. I'm still in disbelief at the overreach that we all experienced, and that'll be a whole nother conversation. But regardless of where anyone stands politically on those decisions, I believe one lesson should be clear. We should never create tools of government power without also creating strong safeguards against the misuse and the overreach. Once this technology is in place, it will be very difficult to reverse course. So I believe the burden should be on us now, on our leaders now, to get the protections right before we give government access to this level of surveillance capability, not after something goes wrong. We've already seen some things going wrong. We've had law enforcement officers fired for misuse, and that's just what we know about. For those reasons, I'm opposed to moving forward with the flock cameras in Oconee County in their current form. I'm not opposed to technology that can make our community safer. I am opposed to implementing the technology with this much potential for abuse before we have adequate transparency, accountability, data protections, and just a general checks and balances. Thank you for giving me this time this evening.
How y'all doing, council? So I'm gonna make mine short and sweet because a large amount of what I was gonna cover has been covered. But I will say, the statements I make is not towards council, nor is it to our sheriff. Because when times get tough in this country, it's gonna be y'all and the local sheriff that's gonna make it bearable or not. And that's what I'm fearful of about flock cameras. It's not the data that the sheriff has. It's how that data is shared outside of this county. That concerns me. And I have to remind you that the sheriff, when he implemented this, had good intentions. It was to make Oconee County safer. But there's two things that every elected official should always ask themselves when they're implementing something. One is, by what authority do I have to do this? The second one is it infringing upon constitutional rights? We are very unique as a nation. For even though there have been many republics formed, we were formed entirely different. Or the people wrote the Constitution first and made sure that the government can only reside within that Constitution, within those enumerated powers. Our Declaration of Independence, it states why our government was formed. It was protect those God-given rights. Then we went on and we added the first 10 amendments to our Constitution because the Anti-Federalists were afraid that we have a government that turned tyrannical and tried infringing upon those. And then they went a step further and wrote the Ninth Amendment, in the Ninth Amendment, and said, hey, by the way, and I'm paraphrasing, for all of those rights that we did not list, enumerate 1 through 10, those also were included. So the problem that we have here is good intentions without safeguards. We've seen that before in this county. There is a lot of good that can come from lock cameras if it has guardrails, has the ability for it to be regulated outside of the authority that exists within. The people needs to have some insight to how it's being used. The Patriot Act is a good example of how something implemented without good safeguards ends up harming innocent people. With that being said, I want to read you the final address, or farewell address of George Washington, and it pertains to this. If in opinions of the people, the distribution or modification of the Constitution powers be in any particularly wrong, let it be corrected by amending it in a way which the Constitution was designed. But let there be no change by usurpation, unauthorized power. For through this, in one instance, may be the instrument of good. It is customarily the weapon by which free governments are destroyed. Our founding father knew the dangers of its citizens becoming relaxed and uneducated and not holding the government accountable. And today I'm glad to see that we're using part of our First Amendment in airing our grievances. But we've got to understand, and we cannot be a group of citizens that request permission for everything and allow our government to do whatever will they want. Our government is to serve us, not for us to serve it. And we need to always ask, by what authority do you have to do this? Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Douglas Wayne Hedden Jr. I'm a resident of Oconee County, live in Mountain Rest, South Carolina. Now, I'm shooting from the hip on this, so bear with me. It takes a lot of fortitude for a county council to put an ordinance forth like this, and to be the first one in their state to do it. Now, it takes that, people. It really does. So, yeah, you're going to get criticism. You're going to get pointing fingers and all this stuff. Now, it also takes a lot of fortitude for a sheriff of a county to answer those questions. Okay? He's been asking tough questions here. And rightfully so, he should. Okay? And of course, people point fingers and get a little scuttlebutt here and here and here and here. Okay? I'm probably going to be repeated the last time I spoke. I've seen what mass surveillance does. If you ain't seen it and you ain't lived it, get your passport. Go to China for 2 weeks. Get your passport. Go to Britain. And I'm using numbers off the top of my head, so critique me later. 9 million people and 1 million cameras in Britain. I'm going to watch my Marine Corps mouth. You can't wipe your rear end in Britain without them telling you what car it is and where you put it and what it smells like. Now, you can believe that or not. And take it however you want. But like I said, it took a lot of fortitude for this council to put this ordinance forward and our sheriff to answer the questions he's being asked. Now, the scuttlebutt on the street, and I'm gonna throw it out here, and I'm speaking from what I'm hearing. I'm not out here making things up. I don't lie. You might not like what I got to say, but I won't lie to you. I don't like a liar and a thief. Yes. We're gonna save the taxpayers money. The one that within the last week. Well, since 22, 23, 24, and 25, and 26, ain't nobody worried about how much we spend on these cameras. Now, when I'm not making accusations, I'm telling you what I've heard. Now we have a council that asked for audit records to look at. So we're gonna save taxpayers money. Cancel the contract. Well, the other accusation is, I don't know how much truth in this. Do y'all research it? That won't be available for them to look at. I don't know. Well, that's what I've heard, okay? I think we got great law enforcement here. I think we got a great sheriff. I think we got a great county council. And everybody here will be proud of all of them. These guys stick their neck up there every night, middle of the night, to take care of one of you. And they're trying to do the right thing too. Yes, if you've got, I've heard you got dementia, find him. If you've got a child been abducted, find them. People, if your parents got dementia, take the car out of the yard and you ain't got to worry about it. If your child is with you, it should be within arm's distance. Put the responsibility in your own hands. Don't put it on everybody else. Don't put it on the council. Don't put it on the sheriff. Grow a set and take care of your family. Okay, it's simple. Don't let your kid 4 aisles over in Walmart wonder why they're on the poster board next week. And then we ain't got to worry about it. I understand it's a tool that can be helped, but the bad outweighs the good. And I understand this thing right here tracks me. Guess what? I don't have to carry this thing. Okay? I don't agree with them. I don't. I really don't. And I'm glad it says, look at my time, full surveillance, okay? Because you know why? If they didn't put full surveillance in that, we're going to have somebody else stick something else up. Wake up. Because they're going to build a database outside of the sheriff's, outside this county, not sheriff's office, and they're going, and you might not live it, but your grandchildren are going to live being in a surveyed state and know where they go and what to do.
Alex James.
Distinguished council members, thanks for letting me speak tonight. Absolutely did not come with a prepared statement. Absolutely did not come prepared to even want to speak. But now and then you feel compelled. And most of the times in my life when I've gotten in trouble, it's because I am compelled to do something. My name, again, Alex James. I live in Long Creek, lifetime resident of the county, other than, when I was in military service. I've been gone for like 20-something years, moved back a few years ago, and honestly, I didn't recognize parts of the county. There's a lot to be said, for getting on top of the best places to live list. There's good and bad to that, because I lived through it out in Colorado through several assignments, and I watched what happened to Colorado. The state I moved to was not the state I moved away from. Likewise, I moved back into South Carolina, into my family home up in Long Creek, and let's just say that things have changed. And part of that, is the surveillance issue, that I had not really noticed a lot of what was going on around me till my son brought this to my attention. And he started showing me a map of just how many of these cameras there are, in the county. I was astounded. Bottom line up front, again, I'm a retired Army officer, so you get right to the point. you know, and Mr. Hedden, I appreciate you. That was a great presentation, by the way. I'm against flock cameras, number one. Number two, I'm against any successive types of information gathering or sharing technology, you know, that utilizes artificial intelligence, you know, human, whatever kind of intelligence gathering you want. I'm against it. I have been to too many places. I've seen too many systems. I've seen too many different state, local, federal government agencies, you know, and how they use, you know, that information and how it's, I guess how it's captured as well as how it's retained, because it doesn't go away. And I'm afraid that, you know, Sheriff Crenshaw, let's talk about him for just a minute. Went to school with him. He's about a year older than me. He is a great American. He is a great sheriff. I trust him as sheriff. There is no issue with that whatsoever. My problem with the information, you know, that he may be obtaining, and this has already been alluded to in different, you know, in different presentations tonight, is when he's gone, I mean, he's one election away from not being sheriff. Who's the next guy? You know, do you get the biggest crook ever? You know, it's an elected position. You never know. You know, it is what it is. So that's a concern. So as far as the flock camera and information, artificial intelligence, pick something, I am absolutely against that. I appreciate the county council, you know, taking the steps, you know, to look at banning that in the county and put this to bed right now before it gets any more life, you know, in it and any more cameras get put up. Because those folks are putting them up by the day. They don't even want their own meetings to be filmed. I mean, they've switched buildings, you know, their headquarters, because once it, you know, came to public attention where the building was at, they started filming the people going into the meetings. They didn't even like that. So how do you not like being filmed when that's what you do? You know, you're an information company, but you don't want information on your own company being disseminated. That's an issue. And that's all I'm gonna say on that. Point number two. This is totally off the cuff. I appreciate you, you know, the pickleball lady, I forget your name, my apologies. In the 90s, I was Parks and Recreation Director for Oconee County. And I actually lived in South Cove, you know, for about 9 years. I was Chaw-Ram superintendent for about a year, then I moved down there. So I had all three parks. I did park and recreation tourism for the county. But at that time, you know, it was hard to even get the tennis courts resurfaced. And I remember going through contracts, you know, the purchasing director, you know, going before council, you know, begging for money, you know, was usually what it was in the 90s. You know, it was a different situation then. It may be the same now, I don't know. But my bottom line is, you know, help this lady get some pickleball, you know, because, you know, I'm a tennis man myself, but the pickleball looks awesome, and I would like to have a place to go play some pickleball. So if there's a hang up on the contracts, and we all know how that can be, you know, help her out. But thank you for allowing me to speak and exercise my constitutional rights, and, you know, thank y'all.
Thank you, folks. I appreciate the ability to speak to you tonight. I'm going to change the direction just a little bit, although if I have time, I may talk a little bit about the flock cameras. I want to talk about Resolution 2612 for a moment. Resolution where you guys, the County Council, has decided to withhold $50,000 in funding to the Seneca Rec Department because you gentlemen and women on the city council can't come to an agreement. Last night I went to Walhalla, to Memorial Stadium, and watched a group of 8-year-old boys and girls play soccer. And they were laughing and running and playing. And one of the things I noticed is they were working together as a team, passing the ball, trying to score a goal, right? And so sports and recreation teaches these young people how to play as a team. And then I was just really dismayed by the fact that because county council and city council can't get together on how to fund 911 for Seneca and the rest of the county, that you guys have decided to withhold money from this kids program, okay? Now, it seems to me that you guys aren't playing as a team either. The thing that the very idea behind team sports teaches us, is to play as a team. And these were 8-year-olds that I was watching play as a team. Why can't we come together to figure this out rather than using these young people as hostages? Because that's what they're being done, it is hostages. Because if you take $50,000 away from some of this recreational funding, some of these kids are going to suffer. Seneca Rec's department serves not only Seneca, over half of the people that play for Seneca Rec are outside the city. Many of them come from places like Fairplay that really don't even have a rec program. So it's not hurting just Seneca, it's hurting others as well. Mr. Hart, every issue that seems to come up with Seneca and money, you're opposed to it. And I think you should take your personal issues with Seneca out of county council business. Mr. Mize, you represent Seneca in District 3, and I have yet to hear you speak up for Seneca or for anything that happens. Tonight's a great opportunity for you to actually speak up and say what you feel about this money being taken away from Seneca. There's many issues that have come up. An example is a $5,000 ATAX money for Seneca to advertise that Mr. Hart opposed. I didn't hear anything from you, Mr. Mize. Even the issue about the county not willing to fund 911 for Seneca, although the county funds 911 administration for all the other municipalities, Walhalla, West Union, Westminster, but now they want to charge Seneca. That's an issue that you didn't bother to bring up either or defend Seneca for. I think that all of us need to stand up for these young people and continue to fund these programs and not withhold this money. Now, tonight I noticed the resolution was a first and final reading, so you're going to make the decision tonight on withholding this money. I think you should act like adults and make a difference. I also change gears in my opinion of flock cameras. In the past week, in the past few days, there was a robbery at Rudy's in Seneca. There was also a robbery in Westminster. And both of those robberies were tracked and solved, maybe not completely solved, but the perpetrators found and arrested using flock cameras and our local law enforcement. Mr. Elliott, I'm glad you spoke up for law enforcement last week. It's amazing that we are all in bed and we're supporting law enforcement until we're not, okay? I appreciate that you standing up for law enforcement last week and what you had to say. We need to not necessarily regulate or abolish these flock cameras and other means of surveillance. We need to learn how to focus on their proper use with rules and regulations, with penalties for those that abuse the system. We need to work on those things, not just to do away with them, because there are so many other places and so many other ways that you are surveilled in this country this day and time. Not on your cell phone, not only your car computer, not only when you buy something off of Amazon or eBay, whenever you swipe a credit card, all these things, you're tracked every single time. Mr. Durham, Mr. Mize, I know that y'all have badges at Oconee Nuclear Station. You're tracked by the FBI and the CIA all the time because you possess those badges. We are tracked. It's a fact of life. What we need to focus on is the proper use of that. And lastly, Mr. Durham, last time in the specially called meeting, you said that you were worried about due process. And I wanted to bring one last thing to your attention. On June the 18th, 2025, in this county, just down the road at Porto Nuevo Restaurant, 11 people were detained by ICE and disappeared off the face of the earth. And I did not hear one word from you about due process for those folks. I appreciate it. Thank you very much for your time.
Hello, my name is Emerson Cook. I'm a current student at Clemson University. I'm here with a few of my friends from the university as well with Young Americans for Liberty. I'd like to first take the opportunity to thank this body for hearing from both citizens of Oconee County and other concerned parties such as myself like tonight. I believe that such persistent communication between citizens and their government is what sets good and effective public servants such as yourselves apart from all the others. Add this to your credit. I'm speaking to you today on a topic that I think aside from other three individuals, everyone has talked about, flock cameras. However, as I'm not an Oconee resident, I'm not really speaking as to whether or not I think they should be removed or not, as I don't think that's my place, but rather as to some other concerns that I believe should be taken care of in considering them. I credit this council that has been deciding to move forward with potentially canceling this contract. However, no provisions have been made to prevent a future county council or another element of our government here locally or any other part of the state that could prevent a future reinstating of either flock cameras or a similar style of ALPR technologies. A lack of regulations and controls on these could, as has been raised several times by other people, lead to a future gathering of this council reinstating these cameras and allowing these same abuses and violations of privacy, if they be constitutional or not, to once again rear their ugly heads. As such, I'd like to make a request before this council that should it elect to cancel this contract, that also add provisions that would restrict the use of ALPR and similar technologies, such that might prevent the sharing of this data with organizations outside of the Oconee County Sheriff's Office or municipal police departments within the county, or restricting their use to such cases as kidnappings and Amber Alerts. This would allow us, the citizens, to now be concerned about whether or not we are being surveilled, rather than ensure these cameras are being used for their proper use, that's targeting criminals and helping the people of this great county. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak before we move on? Mr. Clay?
Thank you so much, Council, for allowing me to speak today. This issue is something that really resonates with me because it's something that I preach. It's an issue that reaches across party lines. Both Democrats and Republicans agree there are some issues with flock. I understand the pros, I understand the cons, but at this time, we need to focus on the checks and balances. We need to ensure that if we're going to introduce systems like this into our county, that our privacy is at the utmost importance. Because not only, is this United States of America, this is South Carolina in particular, we have some of the strongest laws against privacy. We don't even have red light cameras in the state. So for flock cameras to be introduced, it's something that's very concerning on both sides of the aisle. And I agree. I see Democrats and Republicans, they argue all the time. But here in Oconee, at this moment right now, I can put a smile on my face because we can come together, defend our Constitution, and stick up for constituents of all of your districts. So thank you to Oconee Council. God bless America, and God bless Oconee County. Thank you.
All right, we'll move forward to council member comments. I'm going to reserve my remarks for the agenda items, including the potential for mass surveillance ordinance until that time. But I do want to say about the pickleball, Mr. Shirley, he is Deputy Administrator and PRT Director. Mr. Shirley, do you have any insights?
Yes, sir. I'd be glad to share an update. I will tell you that this project has been the most difficult that I've dealt with in my service career. Our challenges have been specific to the contractor not being able to meet the specs that we put in place. And we were not willing to cut corners on $1 million project to not get the product that we wanted. I am happy to report, though, as of this morning, they're mobilizing tomorrow, and you'll see dirt start moving Thursday and Friday with new asphalt going down over the next 14 days. Once it cures, the surface will go on top of that, and then we'll get fence in place. And hopefully, before long, you and Mr. James will have a place to play tennis and pickleball.
Thank you, Mr. Shirley. Any other comments?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to address Mr. Lee Sheehan. It's got to do with the resolution that we're going to speak about tonight. I am sorely disappointed in the administration of Seneca. There have been, going back to the first of this year, and I have to give kudos to the sheriff and Police Chief Casey Bolton. Early on, they got together, they formulated a plan to transition the 911 call center to the county, had agreed upon what it was gonna cost. And I'll put the numbers out there, that it was gonna take 4 dispatchers. It was gonna take $240,000. Seneca already had a call center. They're the only municipality in the county that had a call center, okay? So they were paying. They wanted to transfer it. I thought it was a great idea. It consolidated and made things more efficient. Myself, Mr. Jones, had numerous meetings with the administration in Seneca. We offered several olive branches to them, trying to meet a contractual agreement. They denied the 240. We went back, we asked about the call volumes. Told us it would be probably a 25% increase in call volume. As it turns out, it's a 50% increase in call volumes. We're now receiving 100 more calls per day after taking over the call center. We went back and said, well, maybe we can do it with 2 dispatchers. Went back with another contractual agreement of $120,000 a year for 3 years for a transitional period. And then it would migrate over to the county wholeheartedly. Crickets in Seneca. So we do not mean this resolution to be punitive to Seneca. I know recreation is big in this county. But we need to reach an agreement with them, and so far that has not been reached. And we are going to take the money from recreation to offset the cost to fund this call center to help out the taxpayers of Oconee County. That's where the story stands. Now, if you've got a beef with the council up here on that, you need to go back to your city council and ask them why they wouldn't meet us at the table. That's where the problem lies. And that's all I got to say.
Thank you, Mr. Miles.
I've got something to say. Go ahead. I'd also like to address that gentleman too. I went to Seneca High School, finished there, played football at Seneca High School. And I happen to remember when the mayors of the city of Seneca had enough sense to run the city themselves instead of having to hire an administrator. And you're talking about, that's what, $200-something thousand? If you don't believe me, ask Mr. DeVoe Blackston, who was the administrator when he was mayor. He was. And about this $5,000 for advertisement, I'd like to give it to that lady there for the pickleball court. Thank you.
So the city of Seneca, they were spending, I believe, about $350,000 a year in dispatch. There was an agreement reached, as Mr. Miles said, that would meet us a little bit of the way, $250,000, save them $100,000 as we transition, because it's such a big burden and load on the dispatchers. It requires 4, we hired 2 that's not being funded via the budget, because we passed an ordinance. City of Seneca walked away from their dispatch and shut the door on public safety in Seneca because they chose other priorities. So for the county to maintain public safety for the citizens in Seneca area, and if you don't live in Seneca, you drive through Seneca, get an accident, well, you need the police, you need the dispatch too. But they walked away from public safety, so we have to fund it. And we have a budget, and you have to have the revenue to fund it. So we're getting $50,000 from recreation to them. That's still not enough, right? By the time there's 2 positions, and by the time you have fringe and benefits, you'll be way short for 2 positions. And we need 4, right? The call volume on the sheriff's office dispatch has increased by 50%. So it's unfortunate that the city council, Mayor Ronnie O'Kelly and Administrator Scott Mulder decided to forego public safety for other wants inside the city. So. Any other comments? I do want to say, Mr. Suarez, are you still here? Spoke about the play.
Yeah, he's lazy.
I'm sorry?
I would like to go. I worked that day, but I would encourage other people if you're available to go. I wanted to go last year, but I worked that day as well. So congratulations on you continuing to promote this forward.
Thank you so much. I think it's great for Oconee County. I love Oconee County. I've lived here for 53 years.
Thank you, sir. All right, let's move forward. We have second reading for 3 ordinances. The captions for these are long, so bear with me. The first one is the Protection from Mass Surveillance Ordinance. It's ordinance 2026-26. An ordinance to amend Chapter 2 of the Oconee County Code of Ordinances by adding an article entitled Protection from Mass Surveillance to prohibit the use of county funds, property, personnel, equipment, contracts, information technology systems, and other county resources for prohibiting mass surveillance systems, to prohibit the placement or operation of such systems on county property and within county-controlled road right-of-ways, to establish eligibility requirements for discretionary county appropriations, recreation funds, accommodation tax awards, grants, sponsorship, and other county-controlled distributions to include municipality-sponsored events and material and kind municipal support within such eligibility requirements, to prevent circumvention through affiliated or separately incorporated entities, to amend Chapter 30, Article 3, by adding permanent accommodations tax eligibility disclosure and enforcement provisions, to amend Chapter 26 by prohibiting mass surveillance encroachments within county-controlled right-of-ways and other matters related thereto.
Make a motion.
Motion. Second. Do we have any discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I'd like to say, there's a lot of talk about flock, and the word safety keeps coming up all the time with that. And of course, we all want safety, but we also have to remember that our Constitution doesn't tell us what rights we have. It limits the government. It limits what they can do. And we always have to stay within the Constitution when we're looking at anything like this. If we want to be perfectly safe, then, we can just microchip everybody, track everybody all the time, and then you can always catch every criminal at that point. But I don't think that's something that we're willing to accept right now. But, this gradual usurpation of rights, that's the way that we lose things. It never comes in one sudden fail swoop. When I ran for council, I had a quote by James Madison on the flyers that I used to give out. And he said, "I believe there are more instances of the abridgment of freedom of the people by gradual and silent encroachments by those in power than by violent and sudden usurpations." And if we keep giving up rights that God has granted to us and we hand those over to government, you can't always trust government. You can't hardly ever trust government. And it troubles me today to see how many people will so easily put their faith and trust in government, when government has demonstrated over and over that there's very few things that it does well, and it can't be trusted in a lot of areas, because government is made up of sinful men, and they have to be restrained, and they have to be restrained by the Constitution, and we have to stay within the bounds of that Constitution. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. James. Any other comments? So I just want to talk a little bit about how this came about. This is much bigger than flock cameras. That's the name you hear. The ordinance captures that it doesn't mention the brand or the company, is the technology. But the thing is, the technology we know about today, we don't know what's 5 years from now. And this stuff is rapidly evolving, and with AI, it's gonna continue rapidly evolving. And it's upon us to try to stay ahead of it. And at the local level, government's a little bit more nimble, can be quicker, can also be quicker to take your rights. But we can also be quicker to enforce it, because legislative movement in the state and in DC takes a while. And that's what this ordinance does. It restricts, it takes the funding away from a county level, takes it away from being put on county right-of-ways and county property, and it also intends to try to, since the municipalities are in the county, and surveilling county residents, they're not eligible for county funds, discretionary funds, and accommodation tax if they continue to operate these mass surveillance systems. Because this stuff came on extremely fast. People say we've had cameras for it. We have. But there's a difference now with the computing power and the AI and the databases on what this creates. It's a completely different animal. And the courts have increasingly ruled that when you start collecting this data in mass that can reconstruct movements, then that you start challenging the Constitution. It's not a single picture of a license plate at a toll road. And that's the concern. And people, you know, I believe we're first in South Carolina. That's what I've read. And some people say we may not be, should not be first. Wait for Columbia, wait for DC. My view is each and every one of us, we took an oath to the Constitution. Sheriff took an oath to the Constitution and his deputies. We have an ordinance coming up in a minute that's going to expand that oath to council-appointed officials. But that oath to the Constitution was to protect and defend the Constitution, not to take and use new technology as it comes online until a court, a judge, tells it, oh, you crossed that line. It's not to cross the line and then pull back, it's to defend it right here. As I said, the local level, we can't write federal law, we can't write state law, but we can control what we can right here. And other councils in the state that have that same authority, I hope they take it up and start defending the residents of South Carolina. I saw where Florida, Governor DeSantis put out, I think, pulling the flock cameras. And we got to be careful saying flock, right? It's the technology. Like, it's not just a brand we're targeting. But South Carolina's had a history and a tradition of leading. Unfortunately, as a state, we've lost that in many key areas lately. But we need to get on board as a state to protect their rights. Ultimately, it's a federal issue, too, because I don't want to have to go across the line into Georgia and be surveilled as well. Very effective law enforcement tool. Like, nobody can dispute it. Right? The burglary in Westminster the other day. I think they stole the car in Westminster, and Pickens went to Westminster, robbed the gas station, and then they called them in Greenville. Flock system helped track those people down. So it's very effective. Nobody's arguing against that. I'll have people send me a message wanting to point out the good it's done. And we know it can do good. And we know it makes law enforcement's job easier, but there's all sorts of things that makes law enforcement's job easier we don't do, because in this country, government's restricted to protect their God-given rights. We could have warrantless searches in your home, make law enforcement's job easier, get rid of due process. There's all sorts of things we can do to make law enforcement's job easier, but we don't. And this is one of them. It's just the technology has advanced so fast. And when we say the law hasn't caught up, the Constitution is still the Constitution. It remains. Council members change, sheriffs change, but the Constitution's the Constitution. And when I say the law hasn't caught up, I believe these cameras are unconstitutional. And I believe if law enforcement wants to use a powerful tool like this, the State General Assembly and Congress needs to write laws that allows them to operate within the confines of the Constitution. Sheriff Crenshaw. I appreciate Sheriff Crenshaw because he's the only sheriff in the state that I've heard say that he supports a warrant requirement. I think that would be a key piece of legislation to require a warrant. You have to prove probable cause. There's a government between us and our private lives and the government at that point. People talk about cell phones and other things. If Sheriff Crenshaw wants to get my location data from my phone, he can't just log onto a computer and pull it up, or a deputy can't. They have to go to a judge, and get a warrant, there's due process, probable cause, there's protections there. That's outside of his office. People said that they trust Sheriff Crenshaw, and I do too. But this is a nationwide network that's connected. I've said Sheriff Crenshaw can have the strongest controls. Doesn't mean Athens, Georgia does. I believe they had a case down there. They can search tags in Oconee County. Also, the protections that we have in place right now are in hindsight, meaning you catch the abuse and the violations of somebody's rights after they've done been violated. At least with a judicial review and a warrant, you have a windshield in front to stop it before it ever happens. So hopefully, I've heard from lots of other communities and council members. We may be first. I commend this council for not being afraid of our South Carolina heritage and leading. But I pray we're not the last. And local governments, I told people when I was campaigning the first time 6 years ago, so many people get caught up in Fox News or CNN, and they don't, stuff happening at the local level is right underneath their nose. This is where the rubber meets the road. If you go back to COVID, somebody mentioned COVID. Who told people they can't go to church in communities, or you can't go to work? It wasn't DC, it was local and state government. So we're exercising the authority we have here to do what we can. Now, all we can control is the county cameras. Hopefully the municipalities, y'all need to call your city councils. Hopefully the municipalities will follow suit. But if they don't, then, and you still see a camera up, that's why. But I do appreciate the council. I appreciate, as Mr. Hayden said, the courage to bring this forward, because it does take courage. And appreciate the public support. And as Mr. Clay said, this is a rare phenomenon in politics and in public policy, where it brings people together as one. There's a few that don't. But, you know, in my opinion, in my estimate, this is about a 90-10 issue. You know, 90% of the population seems to be united that we don't want to be watched from the government. We want to have freedom of movements. And we talked about the Constitution, the Proclamation, and our inherited rights. If we don't draw a line now in this rapid advancing age of AI, there's going to be no freedom left for our children in the next generation. And I just heard about AI a few years ago, right? I mean, you heard about it's common. But once it got here, it's just exploded, and it's just going to keep rapidly going. And we can't even fathom what's to come. So it's upon all of us to stay vigilant. These cameras, I didn't know they existed until March. A citizen messaged me and told me about them. I started looking. When he first messaged me, I thought, you know, a license plate reader, what's the big deal? But you start reading the back end of how this stuff ties together, and well, this is a big deal. This is different than anything we've ever seen. And it's only going to grow from here. And then from March on, citizens started reaching out more and more. Up to July, I was receiving several messages or phone calls a day, every single day. So it's on us to be vigilant. Talk about trust in government. I have a natural distrust in government. And really, I don't trust the government. That's why, as a public, we have to stay vigilant. And the citizens across the country are staying vigilant on this issue. But it's not Flock. It's not a brand. It's important to that. If a city says we're getting rid of Flock, there's another one right behind them. So we got to be vigilant on where we're going. If we're going to pass these freedoms that we've inherited. Now this man right here dodged bullets for him and the generations before him. If we're going to pass those on, it takes courage. You got to stand up. Councils has got to stand up. Gentleman spoke and said, well, this can go away. Well, no council can bind a future council. So that's why I'm on the public to stay vigilant and vet candidates for office. You got to elect the right people in office. Mr. James has said, we need more than good people to hold public office. We gotta have good people with courage and a backbone, because that's what it takes. But thank you everyone for coming out tonight. Thank you for council for supporting this. And hopefully others will take note and follow suit. Thank you. So we got first and second. Any other comments? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All opposed, Mr. Elliott? Next we have ordinance 2026-27, an ordinance to amend Chapter 2, Administration of the Code of Ordinances of Oconee County, South Carolina by adding Article 8 entitled Position Authorization and Classification Control to require all county positions, regardless of funding source, to be included in a position authorization classification schedule approved by county council, to provide that the receipt or availability of a grant, state appropriation, donation, restricted revenue, fee, or other funding does not independently authorize the creation or continuation of a county position, to establish uniform procedures for the creation, reclassification, continuation, expiration, and abolition of county positions, to preserve lawful appointment and personal authority, to prohibit circumvention, and to provide for codification, severability, conflicting provisions, and an effective date.
Make a motion.
Second.
Any discussion? So this is just cleanup, and this is an accountability ordinance. You know, county council adopts the budget, and council determines the size of county government. And so if new positions are going to be created, that decision should come straight from the elected body, not some other source. All in favor? Aye. Next is, we have ordinance 2026-28, an ordinance to amend section 2-191, appointment duties of Division 4, County Attorney of Article 3, officers and employees of Chapter 2, Administration of the Oconee County Code of Ordinances, in order to require county council authorization before a county agency, commission, board, department, or committee may employ or retain an attorney other than the county attorney and other matters related thereto.
Make a motion.
Second. Any discussion? So again, this is just another accountability piece. The county does hire outside legal assistance. We hire litigators. We do have a staff attorney, Mr. Chomley. But this is just to ensure that any stretching departments or offices, if they do need outside assistance, it must come through and be approved by county council. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, now we have first reading of 3 ordinances. First is ordinance 2026-29. This is entitled only, an ordinance to confirm building variance and termination of purchase options for Oconee Industry and Technology Park and the public record and other matters related thereto.
Make a motion.
Second. All in favor? I'm sorry, I didn't ask for discussion. Anybody have any? Okay, next is ordinance 2026-30. Authorizing pursuant to Title 12, Chapter 44 of the Code of Laws of South Carolina, 1976, as amended, the execution and delivery of a fee in lieu of ad valorem taxes and special source revenue credit agreement by and between Oconee County, South Carolina, and Project Fox, acting for itself, one or more current or future affiliates in other project companies collectively company, providing for a fee in lieu of ad valorem taxes incentive, providing for a special source revenue credit, developing a joint county industrial and business park between Oconee County and Anderson County so as to designate the property of the project as part of a multi-county industrial park, authorizing the execution and delivery of a purchase and sale agreement between county and company for the transfer of certain real property from county to company, subject to the terms and conditions set forth in the purchase and sale agreement and providing for other related matters.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Okay, we have ordinance 2026-31, an ordinance to amend Chapter 2 Administration of the Code of Ordinances of Oconee County, South Carolina by adding Division 4 Appointments and Constitutional Oaths to Article 2 County Council, consisting of sections 2-96 through 2-101, to establish a uniform constitutional oath requirements for certain persons appointed by Oconee County Council to provide for administration, subscription, filing, and retention of such oaths, to require the provision of a copy of the Constitution of the United States to certain public officials and sworn county personnel, to provide for transition, ratification, compliance, and other matters related thereto.
Make a motion.
Second.
Motion, Mr. Hart, second, Mr. Miles. Any discussion? All right, so all members of council and elected personnel in the county, they swear an oath to office. What this does is it takes county appointed boards, some of whom have real power, such as the Board of Zoning Appeals, requires them to also to take those positions, to also take the oath of office, to uphold the Constitution. It also prescribes for everybody who takes the oath, whether you be an elected council member, elected auditor, treasurer, sheriff, sworn deputy, to receive like a copy of a pocket constitution, because people are swearing an oath to the document or to have that in their possession so that they may read. Also applies to county appointed positions such as county administrator, attorney, or the council. The discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
That is fine.
Next is first and final reading of the following resolutions. Resolution 2026-12, a resolution authorizing the withholding of $50,000 in District 3 recreational funding and the reallocation of such funds to help offset increased county emergency communications and dispatch costs due to the City of Seneca closing its dispatch center and failing to assist Oconee County with consolidation costs.
Make a motion.
Second.
Any discussion? I think we've already covered this during council comment session. All in
I
favor? Yes.
do want to reiterate, this is not to be misconstrued by the citizens in Oconee County or the citizens in Seneca as being punitive. We, like I said, and I won't go much further, but like I said, myself and Mr. Jones tried to negotiate contracts. Those contract negotiations failed. And we felt like that we needed to do this to help fund this call center in support of law enforcement, public safety.
It comes down to funding. They walked away, shut their doors. We picked it up. In order to provide that public safety, you have to have the money. This gets us partially there. All in favor? Discussion regarding action items. Discussion and council consideration of approval of memorandum of understanding between the Oconee County Emergency Services and Corinth Shiloh Fire District. Mr. Jones or Mr. Shirley, would y'all like to maybe kick
Yes,
us
sir,
off?
Mr. Chairman, I can, very quickly, this is just an extension of the prior memorandum of understanding with Corinth Shiloh Fire District, SPD, to be able to administer life-saving services in coordination with the Oconee County Emergency Services. So it's an extension to December 31st for this one.
What liability does the county assume with this, with them operating underneath that?
There's a requirement so our EMS director, Mike Carroll, has a requirement with a medical director, and so they signed the form as well. So that's my knowledge of it.
Mr. Jones? Any discussion? So I'll make a motion that we approve the MOU. Second, Mr. Hart. All in favor? Council committee reports, Mr. James from the Planning and Economic Development Committee.
At the August 18th, 2026 Special Planning and Economic Development Committee meeting, Mrs. Hester provided the committee with a brief update regarding the review of Chapter 26, 32, and 38 of the Oconee County Code of Ordinances that is being performed by the Oconee County Planning Commission. The committee will meet again on October 6, 2026 at 4:30 p.m.
Thank you, Mr. James. Board of Commission appointments, we have no, one last to appoint somebody. If not, we'll move to, need a motion to enter executive session for 6 items. 1, receive legal advice regarding settlement claims and potential lawsuit. 2, discussion of negotiations incident to proposed contractual arrangements, proposed sale or purchase of property. 3, discussion regarding there's 3 economic development items. We've got Project Sunshine Grove, Project Hawk. And 6, to receive legal advice regarding pending litigation. All in favor? motion to return from executive session?
Make a motion.
All in favor? We need one motion. That motion is to authorize the county administrator to execute agreement between the county and Project Grow.
So moved.
Motion.
All in favor? Somebody wants to make a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?